It's wintry and it's a bit cold, but crisp and nice. Lovely sun. And I'm just collecting some footage for a video as well. Locanshaw will be out soon on the other channel, on the Fairkin Skin Music channel. So I'm just trying to get a montage of nice footage. So, Beatles or Stones? Come on, choose one. No mucking around, you're either Beatles or Stones. Can't be both. Okay, Cézanne or Van Gogh? Or Van Gogh, as the Dutch would say. Da Vinci or Caravaggio? Hard, isn't it? Because all these things aren't one or the other, they're all different. They're all art, but they're on a sliding scale, aren't they? And it's a matter of personal taste as to which one you like. The stuff I like about Van Gogh, the stuff I like about Da Vinci, the stuff I like about Cézanne, Beatles, Stones. I come from Liverpool, so I'm going to go for the Beatles, but it doesn't really matter though, because they're all opinions, just opinions. And you know, if I asked you Moby Dick or Tessa de D'Urbervilles, again, it'd just be a matter of taste and opinion, what kind of thing that you like. But if I say Islam, Christianity, now it starts getting what the Americans would describe as icky, doesn't it? Or if I say left wing, right wing, but are either of those any better than the other? I mean, like socialism, communism killed more people than Nazis ever did. I'm not saying that Nazism is good. It's the other extreme, isn't it? And there's the point. Extremes. There's a lot of that about here at the moment. People going on an extreme bent, and I don't like it. I don't like extremes. I've long since given up saying that I believe in anything. What I have now is a sort of sliding scale, if you like, of confidence in things. I'm more or less confident of something, and I might be 99% confident of something. You know, I might be confident of something to a high degree, but my thinking through philosophy and spirituality and plenty of other things has brought me to realizing that I can't really be very confident of anything. I can't be confident that I am here. I can't be confident that this is real. And there are good arguments for that. You know, I can give you a sound argument for why I think something's so insane, or what people think would be insane. But I can come up with good arguments for why that is the case. And that's the point, isn't it? You argue your case for something. You come up with decent, reasonable argumentation. You set up your idea and present the idea. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be right. It's your interpretation. I can set up plenty of reasons why I think that Da Vinci is way better technically than, say, well, I had this discussion once, Keith Haring, and the person disagreed, and I was amazed that someone could disagree, that on technical level that Keith Haring could be paired with Da Vinci. But there you go, people have different opinions, people have different ways of seeing things, and I was so convinced that I was right. I still think I am right, because I don't think you can compare them, but it's okay for somebody else to have the opinion No, I think you're wrong. And they might come up with an argument for that as well. And their argument might be, as far as I'm concerned, total trash. But it's an argument. You know, you've heard the Beatles and the Stones arguments. Again, which one of those is right? Well, neither of them is right necessarily. It's a matter of opinion. But when it comes to religion and when it comes to politics, all reasonable, rational thought flies out the window and people go mad. And then they start going into the extremes, and it's the extremes that I don't like. I like the sliding scale of confidence. I like that I present my case and I'm confident to a degree, and somebody else can come along and say, yeah, but hang on a minute, this and this and this. And I can go, oh right, yeah, okay, so I'll slide my scale a bit down or a bit up. I like it to be movable. But when it comes to politics and religion, people don't want to move. They want to have their extreme views and they want to hold them at all costs. And the more you push them, the more they're going to hold them. And the problem with extreme views is they can cause extreme actions. And I don't like that because people go off on one then. And so it's when people start saying things like, imagine if I said to you, you know, I really don't like Da Vinci, and I think people who do are completely insane, and so I think Da Vinci should be banned. I really don't like the Stones, their music's shit, and people who think it's great are dangerous, so I think we should just ban the Stones. That sounds ridiculous, but that's what people would do. Political parties, their arguments are equally bad. You know, I'm not saying something shouldn't be made illegal. Incitement to violence, violence itself, and so on. But ideas, thoughts, art. Ooh, I don't like that one little bit. Something in me goes, ooh, no. And I think that all rational people think like that. You know, I think every rational person gets that feeling when someone says, yeah, I want to censor this, that everyone sort of goes, but they don't. Oh no. Some people have no problem with that. And that's really dangerous in my view and suspicious. I want freedom for everybody to do pretty much anything they want, as long as it doesn't damage anybody else. Run around naked, paint your hair fucking blue, fucking throw yourself off buildings as long as you don't hit anyone below. I really don't care. I'm a freedom-loving person and I want everyone to be free, especially free to express their opinions and their ideas. But once you start getting into the realm of censoring, forbidding, and banning ideas, that's dangerous. Because as, oh God, what was his name? Heinrich, can't remember the name now. But you'll have heard the quote, where they burn books, people are next. Because burning books, something that amongst others, the Nazis of course did. But it doesn't really matter, it's not a Nazi thing at all. Because Nazism is just a mental, it's an ideology. Something that drives a set of ideas, that drives the actions thereof. We know the other extremes, socialism and communism, did exactly the same thing. Not because it was wildly different, but it's because of the human propensity to allow an idea to overtake you, become extreme, and then lead you to extreme measures. So it's not one thing, one political idea per se that burns books, it's the propensity to become extreme. So when you think, yes, but I'm on team good, I'm on team correct and team right. That's why I want to burn books. That's why I want to burn ideas. That's why I want to stop ideas, because I'm doing the good thing. I'm honourable. Well, any mad person doing that thinks they're honourable, don't they? So that's not a good argument. And burning an idea, trying to abolish an idea, trying to censor a thought, won't be enough, because ideas don't exist on their own. Ideas are produced in the minds of people, and eventually burning the books and burning the ideas, the pictures and the art, the music, isn't going to be enough for you. You're going to have to weed the idea out at its source, at the root, and so you're going to end up burning people. It's the only way to get rid of the idea. You're not going to be able to get rid of the idea itself or its manifestation in the world, so you're going to have to get rid of the idea at its source, and the source is people's minds. This is why extreme thoughts, extremists of any kind, are never good, in my view. This is again my view. You might have a different view. That's perfectly okay. It's good to have different views, and it's good to be able to discuss and talk about different views, to have open debate, which is what it should be. Open debate on different views. This is my view, this is yours. But some people know they've not got good arguments, or some people know that they can't argue very well. They're not good at argumentation. That's okay. They're not good at debating, and that's okay. You know, I'm not good at playing saxophone. So leave it to the people who can. But debate, you must. Because open debate is the only way to deal with such issues. You can't just go around saying, I'm not good at argumentation, I don't have any good arguments against this, but I feel this to be correct. My feelings count more, and I don't want to see it, and therefore I want to forbid it. You can't do that. That's not acceptable. Often the people who will come up with those ideas don't actually have any good argumentation. They haven't got any good arguments against it. It's emotive, it's an emotional thing. And I think that's a problem when it comes to politics and religion, is that art is emotive in a different way. Art gives us feelings of joy, feelings, beauty, feelings of being uplifted by art. You know, I look at some of Caravaggio's, just his light makes me melt. I could go on for ages. XTC songs, lyrics, just little tiny lyrics. People will always be tempted to wipe their feet on anything with a welcome written on it. That's just fucking poetry. Andy Partridge, by the way. So art uplifts us, it can move us, it is emotional. But it seems when it comes to religion and politics, it becomes a different animal. And it hits a sort of emotional part of us that can be really dangerous. And it makes people do the stupidest and say the stupidest of things and behave in the stupidest of ways. Rational, reasonable, normal people, myself included, you know, I don't consider myself, I'm not any wing at all now. Let's just get that clear. I'm not a wing at all. I have reasons for thinking that one side might be better than the other, but they're not to do with feeling like I belong to any kind of tribe. I don't like tribalism. But, you know, when I was 20, 18, grew up in Liverpool, working class town, so you were left wing, you were a socialist. Of course you were, because that's what they stood for, which they don't anymore, by the way. Or at least not here, and certainly not in England. Labour Party doesn't mean, it's not the party of the labourers anymore. Look at them. Not for the labourer. They have nothing to do with labourers anymore. It's not for the working class. So I've sort of drifted away from that, or rather they drifted away from me because they became something that they weren't supposed to be. The Overton window has shifted so far left that anything that is sort of right of what was considered to be sort of right part of left is now just right wing. It's all completely mad. So I can't be in that part of the spectrum anymore. Like a bell curve, both extremes are extremes, and I don't like extremes at all. Just don't like them. I don't trust them. You make yourself immediately untrustworthy when you take up an extreme position by the very virtue that you are being extreme. It's untrustworthy. You're emotionally invested. You're not going to be thinking rationally. It's an untrustworthy position to be in. So I'd rather waver in the middle, a centrist, and have my scale allowed to be shifted to one direction or the other with decent argumentation. But drifting off into extremes is bad, because it comes up with ideas of censorship, forbidding, stopping people having their say, and it gets more and more extreme because you're already on the extreme. So it's not just like you're not allowed to say things, it becomes not allowed to protest, becomes not allowed to write things, becomes not allowed to express yourself. More and more and more and more suppression of thoughts and ideas. You become more and more and more like the very thing you hate. So I'm absolutely not for censorship. I'm not for banning. I want people to say what they want to say, and that gives me the right to argue against it, of course. If I openly allow somebody to say what they want to say, it gives me the right to, let's take racism. Somebody, says, I hate immigrants, blacks, whatever. It gives me the right to stand up and say, okay, fair enough, and here's the reasons why you're a complete and utter idiot. And if I can come up with good arguments that can convince him, then I might change his mind. If I tell him he's not allowed to speak, he's not allowed to say this, if I forbid him speaking on social media, making posters, going out and protesting on the streets, or even threaten him with violence because of his position, so you're being as extreme a violent person as they are, which makes you a complete idiot, then what do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to change his mind? Of course not. He's going to take his view underground with all of his mates, and you can't reach there. So you've solved nothing. All you've done is made them go and have their opinion somewhere else instead of having to defend their opinion in open debate. So banning, forbidding, censoring doesn't work. It just makes you the extremist. It makes you the ignorant person who doesn't want to listen. It makes you the person with your fingers stuck in your ears. If you consider yourself to be left-wing and you're supposed to be for openness, tolerance, freedom of people, freedom of expression, etc., etc., but you want to forbid and ban, then you're venturing into the area of authoritarianism and Nazism. You're becoming the very thing that you're supposed to hate. The sign of a bad argument is turn it around and see if it makes any sense if it was directed towards you. So if you don't like black people, for example, and you want to forbid them existing or whatever, imagine if that was turned around and it was you who was the one who was forbidden. Does that make any sense to you anymore? Turn the tables on your arguments and see if it makes any sense from the other side. More often than not, it doesn't make any sense at all, which is the reason why I've sort of moved away from saying I believe things, just out and out, I believe this, and now into sort of, I can see arguments from both sides. I have a confidence level, confidence scale that I'm prepared to shift depending on the arguments or the information I get. But forbidding things, just saying I absolutely believe something, I don't trust that anymore at all. Don't trust it. It's not, some people see it as a sign of, it's a badge of strength. If I say I forbid it, it shows how strong no, it doesn't. It shows how weak you are. It shows how weak you are. It's not a sign of strength. It's a sign of cowardice. It's a sign that you don't have any good arguments. It's a sign that you feel intimidated. You're trying to be all brave and strong, and you're being weak. You're being a coward. You're not able to stand up and say, at least, be able to say, then we don't agree, and that's okay. It's okay to agree to not agree. You don't have to come to a conclusion. No one has to be right in the end. I've had plenty of discussions with people where I just can't buy their argument, and they won't buy mine. And you know what? Perfectly okay. We've had the discussions, the Stoners discussions about the Beatles and the Stones, and I've never been convinced by the Stones argument. And I'm not utterly convinced by the Beatles argument, and I'm biased. I have a confirmation bias because I'm come from Liverpool, so what do you expect? But the thing is, now I can dig both of them, and those people can have their ideas about, yeah, but the Stones were more rocky, they were hardcore, more hardcore than the Beatles. Beatles feel much too soft, did too many ballads and so on. I can understand both of those discussions, both of those positions, and I can say at the end of the day, then we'll agree to disagree.